How Do You Create That is supported by the Open Institute for Social Science. It is a podcast about the process behind creating a work of art. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Alfa. And today, Ubahang Nembang joins me to discuss the process behind his picture book, The Visitors. He is an illustrator and graphic designer who loves to write and illustrate picture books. The Visitors is a story about a group of animals visiting a city and what unfolds after their visit. Let us head to learn about how this magical adventure came to life. I'm curious, how did you, end up choosing like illustration and drawing and graphics of all the ways to express yourself in art?
Illustration in particular, I think that happened ekdamai subconsciously and then practically illustration bhanera nai it happened at KU when I was doing my bachelor's in fine art. But before that I used to always paint, draw, त्यस्तो त सानैदेखि थियो. I used to draw these gods and goddesses सानोमा because in the village there was not त्यो 5 रुपैयाँमा यस्तो पोस्टरहरु पाउँथ्यो नि, ठुलो पोस्टरहरु with Lakshmi, I don't know, lots of gods. So I used to copy them. And then my mother used to distribute them because people would ask them.
Your drawings?
Yes. Wow. But anyway, so that's how it started. While I was studying in Kurseongma, it's in Darjeeling district, West Bengal. We had mandatory art class. I don't know in Nepal, but then it was quite important. I used to we had a Bengali teacher who was a really good watercolorist. So I used to, and that's how it got me into this watercolor art. More fine art side. And then because there's a difference that people confuse fine art with illustration is very niche specific, you make things according to the demand of the client. त्यो चाहिँ KU-मा आएर finally सिकेको. And then I did my bachelor's in fine art graphic communication, so I'm not even the more traditional artist, so I feel I have a knowledge of, how to put things together, and then, I also draw, which is, I feel it's a good combination as an illustrator.
That's interesting. I was really interested about you drawing gods and then your mother distributing them.
Yes. Yeah, I used to, त्यतिखेर त कलर्सहरु पनि के है यस्तो फुलहरु टिप्यो दल्यो, it was, yeah, it's pretty gaunly type ko. I mean, this is how I was brought up.
That's very interesting that, I'm curious, do the people still have those paintings that you made?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I don't know who she gave them to. But a lot of my friends who while I was studying, I gave them sketches. They still tell me, I still have your sketch that you gave me. And they take a photo and they send it. I was I have no idea when I made this.
That's so cool, I think. Yeah, it's very cool.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your book, The Visitors, and how you created that, how this came into being. Where did the idea for this story or this picture book come from?
So I think the first spark of your Visitors, I think, I'm pretty sure it happened while I was doing my master's. This was in the UK. And for my final project, I was brainstorming some ideas. Okay, I want to, make a anthology. So an illustrated anthology, also wordless. So, you won't have any text. So that was my main project. So the idea was to have at least 6 stories. But then I didn't have time. So I made an anthology with just 3 stories. And this was supposed to be the 4th one. The idea, the initial idea, the idea was basically, I mean, northern hemisphere, it gets really cold, things start snowing and people move out.
Yeah.
So the idea was, these humans, they inhabit this house, they move away, because for whatever reason, maybe it's too cold or whatever. अनि त्यतिखेर चाहिँ ठ्याक्कै एउटा एनिमल आउँछ जङ्गलबाट the houses are very close to the forest. The idea is that अनि एउटा animal आउँछ अनि बिस्तारै अर्को animal आउँछ and they see this house and they live in it. Basically they become like humans भनौँ न. So they become like anthropomorphic animals. They start having tea and literally like they change the whole nature. Okay? So that was the idea. And then finally when the family is, again coming
Returned.
back, they put everything back into order. They put all the whatever bed sheets on the sofa
animals.
and then they leave quietly. That was the idea, like initial idea. Ani yo project say it was so Nepal Picture Library ko ho. So they were looking for like kati 6 jana researchers and then they wanted one illustrator, I think. So they approached me and then they were like, would you like to write a story about Kathmandu? It has to be that, the theme was Kathmandu and then past and now, like whatever changed, like you can write about any topic, but it needs to have that, पहिला कस्तो थियो अनि अहिले के छ, you can draw a disparity between that. And that's how I was like, oh, maybe that story can be adapted in, Kathmanduko setting, because there are lots of abandoned houses, Newar style, पुरानो. So that was how it started. And then, in the story too, I mean, maybe I didn't show it clearly, but then there is a house. Initially, the idea was that house to be like more like, the windows, all Newari style. But that didn't happen. But the idea is still there though. Like, these animals come from the forest and they live and then they are like, they are more like, they live. I mean, they can't survive in this human modernistic world where everything is chaotic.
Yeah. The human
So put
world.
a moral in there as well. But initially there was no, there was no moral, there was no message.
There was just the idea of
Just
animals
come.
inhabiting a house.
It is kind of like a relief to sometimes. Like, okay, you don't need to put any message, just a, simple story.
Yeah. This just reminded me, like a few years back, there was a news about polar bears coming into, like because of climate change and all that, that polar bears were coming in the closer villages and got
This was
into the
where?
city
Kunche
record.
Kotatira.
It was in the north, maybe Russia, Mathiuki, or Siberia, somewhere around there. I don't exactly remember, but it became news that polar bears are, coming into people's homes. So that kind of reminded me of that.
Interesting. Did the polar bears, I mean, they can maul people too. I don't know why I'm saying this, but people go camping, Nita. And there's lots of cases where, polar bears have gotten close and then people have like died. Like,
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then there was this other news as well, Nita, a polar bear drowned. Okay? That was kind of sad. Because the ice, whatever thing, it sort of freezes, but then now it's melting more quickly.
More quickly, yeah.
That was kind of, heartbreaking because they can swim quite a long time. Okay? Can you imagine like how long he was
they
trying
can
to
swim.
stay afloat?
Oh my, okay. I had not heard of that. I'd not seen that news, but I read about the polar bears coming in house, like in search of food, because like the ice is melting and they like need food and they're coming down closer towards
Human beings.
human settlements. Yeah, that kind of reminded me.
There's a story there. Lots of story. I mean,
Yeah, of course. So how did the process to create the visitors happen? Like you mentioned, it started when you were doing your master's in the UK, but how did like the actual process happen? Was it something that you worked on every day for a certain period of time, or was it sporadic?
So this is more like the technical part. Right? So the Nepal Picture Library, when they approached me, it was after COVID. Okay? So I had all the free time. And I was in Japa, like really, really hot. Maybe that has something to do with whatever. But so I have worked on picture books before. So I feel like I know like how like to, like from start to finish. I know. The ideation phases, you need to make storyboard. This is like very technical. And then I had like a panel of like, people like who I would discuss my ideas with. So that was nice because usually when I work, I just work by myself. And then maybe if I feel like showing it to my friends for some feedback, I do. But then your project, Machi, there were a lot of people who were, guiding me. And, you make the storyboard, and then the next stage is like, okay, I remove some of the panels that don't work. So storyboard is literally like, just some line work. And then you have page 1, 2, 3, 4. And it also like, it tells me like left suru bhayo and then how the narrative is flowing. It just makes it really, really easy to work. You can't just just vomit onto the page or your...
Yeah.
It's always good to plan your page. Ani tesori storyboard whatever 1, 2, 3 phase ma gayo, and it did take quite a considerable amount of time because it was 1.5 years until the lockdown was lifted.
So this was made during COVID?
Yeah, entirely. So normally I work pretty fast, but then there was a lot of time with this, so I went back. So the first book that was showcased at the photo circle, Daugalma. So that location had the visitors, but it's the different visitors than this very. It's slightly different, okay?
So it's the same story?
So there are more panels here because I thought, okay, that needs more panels, okay? It's the same story, but there's a slight, it's not the same one, no?
Okay.
So yeah, there are 1, 2, 3 panels extra, and there's all sort of easing into the story and then easing out of the story as well in this one.
In the book,
yeah.
The final book.
Because I was like, okay, that needs more work. And then the tone of the story has also changed because, yeah.
So this project began from there, from the Nepal Picture
So yeah,
Library.
lots of people were involved in this. Honestly, it was not just me. Okay? So many people affected the story in a completely different, in a good way. So Muna, your teacher, she was also responsible. Yeah, she had a lot of part to play with the text.
They say art is a collective effort, so yeah.
That is very much true. I was like, oh my God, thank God, this book is what it is. मैले देखाएँ for feedback. If I hadn't, then it would have been something else entirely.
So the people also affected the process and how it eventually came out, because sometimes when we work all by ourselves, it becomes a little different.
Yeah, and I still feel, but my question also is how much of that is still mine? How much of that is, someone else's? So I still struggle with that sometimes. So maybe that's why I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't show it to everybody. Just a few people who have a good understanding of.
Okay, yeah. Before it's published and out in the public. That's a good question that you've raised. How much of it is mine and how much of it is others through their
because you have to write
inputs.
them co-written by no. I mean, I feel guilty though, if people are not given their credit. So yeah.
Yeah. So this was something that me and one of my artist friends, Abhishek Pradhan, were talking about some time back. We met at an art residency and we were talking about art, and your name came up, and we both admire your work a lot. And then as we were having our conversation, it shifted towards how you have a lot of, the color green is so dominant in the work that you do. If we go through your Instagram and your illustration, there's a lot of green there. And we were just curious, is there a story behind it? Or
Interesting. A lot of green, because green is actually my favorite color, but maybe it's subconsciously or unconsciously, I use it quite a lot. But I think my illustrations are mostly like nature themed, so there's bound to be green.
Green,
no?
Yeah. But it just, there's a lot of nature illustrations, others do as well, but green doesn't come off that predominantly.
Oh, interesting.
In yours, there's a lot of shades of green. And
I will take that as a compliment, honestly. Because some people do tell me, oh, this is yours, Timro Kam ho, vanera, they immediately know. Okay? I'm like, how did you know? Because I'm trying to do something different, style-wise, but they can tell. They're like, yeah, this is
yours.
Quintessentially your technique.
They can see through it. It's probably
so yeah, you mentioned that. That's a different take though. A lot of green. Yeah, I do like green quite a lot. I'm not wearing any green today, but that is usually for summer. In winter, I like to wear red and warm colors.
Oh, to just get the color, the heat from the colors. Okay, that makes sense. So for visitors, you did not just illustrate it, but you were also the writer behind the book. So how was the process doing both writing and illustrating?
This is a really good question. Because for me, I tend to think in terms of images. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Okay? And I know I've asked some of my friends, how do you conceptualize and they write? Okay? For me, it's the opposite. I just make little thumbnail drawings. And then I put maybe one word. Okay? So hibernation or something like that, like, animals hibernating during winter. So that word connects to, that image. And then त्यसरी I just fill in the gaps. Also, obviously, like, each, like, keep an, our story needs a very good climax and then a slow, arcing down and ending the story. So that is all like fill in the blanks.
Okay.
But then I think you do need to have that initial, okay, ke huncha, basically, like, ke huncha, you did need to have that idea, and then it's just, filling in
it together.
But for me, like, I'm a very visual person. Just drawing matra garchu, and then text is maybe 1-2 words will be accompanying the sketches.
The sketches. But the Visitors has like more than 1-2 words to go with. How did you go about that?
Oh, I mean, like, initially, like, that's how I kind of create the narrative. Ani त्यसरी चाहिँ then you can, I can form full sentences.
Okay.
But the idea, the emotion is very important.
Yeah.
So that needs to be captured त्यतिखेर नै के
In images, like visuals.
Like just one thumbnail and then one word. Okay, what is it saying? What do you want to tell in the story? For instance, त्यो घरमा जब पुग्छ, so it's like an abandoned राखिदिन्छ क्या. So the animals are feeling abandoned. So that carries a lot of weight in itself, Nita. And then the words ko त्यो pressure जान्छ क्या. And then that you can bring it later because you're just now, your narrative is already set and now you can just put the text, whatever is the best.
Okay. So it starts with images and one word text to accompany it, and then eventually other words come in. Because I work opposite. So I worked on a comic book as well, and I also drew, and I'm not good at drawing at all. I don't have that here, but I can show you some digital copies afterwards. For me, it was like, because I write, so I have to write first, and then when I was drawing, I realized that it's actually a very different process to... For me, it was.
How does that work? What if you have to change them? What if you change your mind? Because you can, like...
you can change your mind. That's how...
Then you have to change the text. Like, you're not bound by that. Like, you just do that. Kikyo. If you're not feeling the sentence, like in one of the panels, like you just change that, and then that changes your illustration. Or your comic panel.
So what I did was I wrote the entire story, and then I wanted to turn it into panels, but then I realized that it was not working. So I had to reverse it, and I had to start drawing and then write it.
Oh,
so I had
was that much easier than writing first?
No, because like I'm more used to writing, so that was like that was difficult for me. So
I suppose the message to take from this is like, you have to be flexible. Like sometimes if you think it's not working, just change it.
Just change it, and I think that's very difficult for artists sometimes to like trust the process.
That comes with, I think, experience. So I mean, when I was starting, I didn't know what I was doing. You just keep doing it, and then I think you'll be more confident.
You'll get the hang of it, how your own process works.
Yes, to get to, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. Otherwise, you can just be like, lost,
Yeah, that's absolutely possible. So is there a panel or a page in the book that you really like? Like there's this fox that is turning back. This is my favorite panel.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What happens before that? I'm so curious. Because why is he looking? There was a reason why, he's looking.
So there's a panel with the animals, all the while animals are coming in, and then there is the fox. So, it just feels like the fox is inviting you on an adventure, like turning back and saying, let's go.
That's nice. That's a nice take. So, the way I illustrated this was he's left that ghar ke. So he's looking back.
The fox has left the home. So the animals
all the animals are left, and then he's maybe the last one, but then he's just looking back to see. Let's just go now. Next step. When I was and also like technically, from left to right, that sense of movement is pretty important. So that also hopefully emphasizes that.
True, because it's looking backwards and then like moving. Because we read left to right, so it's like. Now the fox will move.
So he's all giving a nod to yo bhako tyo past, and then you see that bit, and then now you move forward in the story.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, this is my favorite one. I think there's a painting of the Samwaran pattern on the walls.
Yes, actually, that was thanks to Nepal Picture Library. They wanted to make it's called wheat pasting.
Yeah.
So that's what they did. I was not responsible for that.
Okay, but
Someone
that's
else
really,
was going on.
yeah, that's lovely. I've seen that.
So I think that idea was really nice because that didn't even cross my mind. That was suggested by Srishti. She's a good friend. She works at Nepal Picture Library. And then that literally like brought into effect, animals coming into the city. You have these murals in these old brick walls. That just made sense a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite illustration or panel of yours from the book?
Let's have a look.
I also like the one with the tiger, the bird sitting on the tiger.
Oh, okay.
That's like, yeah, the bird sitting on the tiger. That's a
in Assam.
in Assam. Wow, tigers in Assam.
And then human beings just walking past without the care.
There's this integration of nature and
maybe
human
this one,
life.
like your panel match. This also happens like agadi नै story ma. So it's basically the grandmother is telling the story. Okay. You don't know yet if your grandmother le bhanirach cha bhanera. Yaha चाहिँ reveal हुन्छ.
Okay.
But then it's her telling the story.
That's the second
There's one light,
page.
and there's everywhere it's dark. There's just one light in the window where it's denoted that someone is awake. And as she's telling the story, there are these little spirit animals that are coming to life. I really enjoy that sort of like magical realism, almost like you can feel that, but it's happening in reality.
Oh yeah, that's a lovely panel right at the beginning. Where the deers, the magical deers, are flowing in. The kind of are you a Harry Potter fan? Or have you?
I am. It has actually shaped my existence.
Wow. So those animals kind of reminded me of the Patronus that is there in Harry Potter that shows up. The magical, like, okay, everything is magical in Harry Potter, but
it's like
creature.
really high kind of magic, high fantasy.
Kind of magic, yeah.
Yeah,
That
much. It's more like a spirit. I mean, that's how I see animals as. Almost like ke bhanne? Like they're trying to tell us something. The whole story is like, they are there. They are, they are not pretending. They are just being themselves, obviously animals, But COVID ma is धेरै cases these animals coming into, these cityscapes, town areas, completely deserted, but you see like these animals just, raising their young etauta, which was very fascinating.
Yeah, like nature taking over.
Yeah,
because humans were all inside.
Or maybe just wondering where's everyone gone.
Yeah. Your stories are often told from animal perspective. Like you've also mentioned that it's there at the book, at the back of the book. Where does this animal point of view come from? How does that work for you?
I'm trying to think. Please call home. Funny animal, but that was important because the main character was the dog.
Yeah,
यसमा त छैन नि
not like animal perspective directly चाहिँ छैन.
But the animals are the heroes.
Yeah, animals are like so important.
So I think animals are these secret messengers. Okay?
Oh.
There are these messengers who are trying to tell us something. Like, there's... Why are you cutting down my forest?
True.
Maybe not directly, but they send us signs. Okay?
Yeah.
But we are maybe we have our own stuff to deal with. But then if you notice, like, it is pretty evident, Nita.
Yeah.
Like, why are there maybe, it's the attacks. There are lots of leopard attacks. Sometimes. Because obviously we are encroaching.
Their homes
that's the answer. So I don't want to be like direct. Okay? So maybe that's why I'm like, okay, let's just put the story out there. And instead of saying, the forest was cut down and they came and then, they protested. Like, it's just that they just came to visit us. Maybe that has a deeper meaning. So, yeah.
True. Magical messengers?
Something like that. Like just messengers. Or they have the whole point of them coming into the city is a message in itself. The act of, leaving their actual home.
Homes, yeah. Because, animals also have their homes, and that's true.
So Ismachi, I try to show them more like just going about the city and just sleeping on the roof, which sort of I hope, the idea was for humans to also isto raitcha inaru, look at how relaxed these animals are. Maybe we can learn something from them. I know now today is, oh my God, it's pretty crazy, what the internet or all this influencer thing. I mean, there's so many new terms that we're learning every day. Now there's AI. It's just crazy. Everything's becoming much more denser and heavier, and it's just difficult to take things.
Yeah, that's true. Animals do teach us to relax.
Like cats. I mean, cats they just want to be fed, and they remind you, okay, there's a different side to.
Yeah, they like sleeping in the sun and soaking in the vitamin D.
And when then you want some love, they'll just come to you. It's very.
Yeah, the animals have their own language that we perhaps are not that capable of deciphering right now. How did it feel when the book came out, as a concrete, the book that you can touch and see, as compared to when it was just starting out as an idea in your head?
It felt pretty good because, I mean, obviously, no. But what I did was, I was print gore. No, I mean, the thing that I go 100%. So I was stitching the book and everything.
Wow.
So I was involved with every step. And then it was really nice once it's bound. So, I just glued everything together. And then this is also to see how technically, how it's going to look in.
The first copy.
I mean, I would encourage anyone who wants to get into picture books to banaepachi always make your own dummy copy. So I think I was involved in every step of making the book, and then it felt pretty good. So I didn't bring any copies. So all of this gold, glue got it, I got the special glue, and then I got the metal. The gilding
the cover of the book,
and then brushed the gold off. So I got all those foils and everything I did. Okay? So that experience was pretty good. And then I made a book jacket for my dummy as well.
Book jacket.
Wow. So I really liked the idea of book jackets. So the initial idea was to have book jackets, but then printing cost and everything, you have to take that into account.
How did the cover, how did you decide the cover illustration? How did that come to?
I wasn't sure, but I would make a different cover, okay? Because I don't like to use, already seen illustrations or, from the book itself.
From the inside, okay.
So, I wanted to do that. But then I think it was also a time constraint thing. And then a lot of people were like, you just use that. That is a very nice image, and then I think I just listened to that. But if I had more time, the book would have a different cover.
Oh. Any reason why you don't want to use the illustration from the inside of the book on the cover?
Because the visitors the title is there, obviously on the cover.
On the cover.
So I wanted an image that was more encompassing, more animals. Okay?
Oh,
so I mean, initially, what was the idea? It was just a bunch of animals grouped together on the cover. And maybe visitors somehow graphically this is from a graphic design standpoint layout wise it would make sense. The title would be Bichama, or maybe the animals would be in such a way that the title would be spelled out from the negative space or something like that.
Between
more
the animals.
Technical
okay.
But that was too much work.
Maybe in the next editions in the future
more time I would have done
we'll
that.
get to see that cover.
But this works as well in a way because when I'm working I usually like when it continues onto the back. So
to spread.
Like an image, the cover continues onto the back. Like a spread, like you say.
A spread,
So you see that, and then pachadi is still, it still continues, and then it does make a sense.
Yeah. It's like a continued, like not a zine, but the harmonium thing.
So why is the animal like this? Why is there the like a lot of negative space, and then you turn, it's actually the grandmother telling the story, and the stories
continues from the inside. Oh, but that's very technical stuff, but also very interesting.
Yeah, when in doubt, always do front and back.
Front and
back cover, manum na.
Okay.
And because you get rid of the spine as well, because a book has a spine, so that also the image also goes across that. It looks really nice.
Like the cover for the visitors goes beyond the spine, across the spine,
ends on the back.
And the back, yeah. So it's like a whole single picture if you turn the whole front and the back.
That's just something that I would prefer. Like, why not just make the entire... If you're feeling more ambitious, you can even continue onto the book
inside
jacket
of the
as
book.
well. A little bit into the book jacket.
Inside the book jacket. That would be nice. That's an interesting idea. How was the research process for the book like? Did you use like actual references?
So, to be frank, I wouldn't say like, it was so research heavy because most of the story was already there. But I did look up your Kathmandu outskirts ma. The one thing I didn't know was all these trees are planted rinta. All the forest that you see.
Outskirts of Kathmandu.
Like, your Burani Gandamati ko jangal, everything was planted rinta.
Oh, okay.
That was very fascinating because what was that? All of them were cut down or something, like they were used. And because, there was this huge scarcity of future, there would be no like wood, trees, whatever. And these were all planted. That was one thing that was quite interesting because I was trying to base it, okay, maybe taro jungle bata aउँछ, but then I've left it like very open-ended.
Yeah.
Maybe Swayambhuko jungle, this is a story match.
Yeah,
it looks like a hill like in between.
Yeah, it could be from anywhere. Like the hill came to life. That's how the story begins. So it could be any hill.
Any research-wise, I did read a few take on your Native American mythology. So the whole idea of, animals being more than just symbols of power and, this and that. It was more, they were messengers. So that idea came from that.
Okay.
Like you have these, I don't know, right? Don't quote me on this, but the wolf has a specific meaning, Nita. I don't even remember like the entire Kipokotyo. But then they all carried like one is an enemy and the brother is a...
The native,
don't quote me on this though.
Native American mythology.
So Sabine sent me this one document which is very interesting, Tisma. Basically there were two dualities. One was evil, one was good. But the thing was always, there was the theme of good and evil. Anyway, just to put into context is okay? It's this idea of, okay, animals are more than messengers. And then obviously John Berger, he's written Ways of Seeing Many, which is a very famous take on how images carry a lot of power. And if you look past something, it has, because the whole book cover is like, there's a pipe and then it says this is not a pipe. Okay? Obviously it is not a pipe, it's an image of a pipe. So that's how you think, Nita.
Okay.
So that too had a lot of
Can you say the title of the book again?
So it's called Ways of Seeing by John Berger.
Ways of Seeing.
I think there's a YouTube ma pani cha, like it's made into a video like / documentary style, like episodic banako cha. So you can watch that. So yeah, not a lot of research. This so deep, but then I did have to look into some of, okay, what exactly, like, that did help in, like, drawing the animals.
Drawing them, yeah. Do you use, like digital versus traditional mediums? What do you feel about that?
So I used to use a lot of traditional mediums. That's how I started. And now I feel kind of guilty because I've moved completely into digital. Yeah, I mean, ideally, maybe in the next book would be nice to do like more traditional. Because it is very, I don't want to say limiting, but then, digital is much more forgiving when you make mistakes. And you can also do like mixed media in digital. You can make, traditionally, I do like these brush textures until I scan गरेर I use digital ma. So that still has, bridging the gap between both.
Yeah.
But completely digital is still like technically you need to be a bit more advanced.
I like what you said, that digital is more forgiving. That's an interesting way to look at it, because I am so bad at drawing with traditional mediums and I only draw digitally.
Okay. And I would tell you to always go back to the
Traditional
one.
Okay.
Because once you have an understanding in it, then you will forever be able to deal with anything digitally.
Okay, so go back to
always
the basics.
a good base you need to have, like, in human anatomy, or always do like pencil and paper. They'll never betray you. Your iPad would run out of battery, but your pen and paper will always be there. So I always carry a sketchbook with me. I mean, I still have that, thank God. So I try to keep that alive. Like, wherever I go, like, if I sit in a cafe or something.
You're sketching.
It would be nice to draw some landscape, some temples, whatever. I should do that more often, though.
Yeah. So the visitors was it mixed media, or was it digital or traditional?
So this was, I don't remember. I think this was completely digital, yeah. Even the brushes, all of them were, but the brushes in this were really, really nice. Okay? I still have them. They are watercolor brushes, but then they look very real. But obviously they can't compare to the real watercolor, A real watercolor, everything's unpredictable, Nita. It's like how humid the weather is, that will affect how your color spreads. But unpredictability छैन digital. You know exactly what you're getting, but you can still recreate some of that watercolor effect.
Yeah.
But it's not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah. I will try to get back to basics when I can. Oh yeah, I'm not really bad at it. So shall we move to the rapid fire now?
Yeah, sure. Shoot. Rapid fire is like you need to answer like within what? The first thing that comes to your mind,
Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure, you can pause as well.
Okay, thank God, okay.
Don't worry. It's just named rapid fire. If you were not an artist, what would you be?
Vet.
Wow, vet. Was that
In
like
my next life, I would love to be a vet.
Wow.
A vet, yeah, taking care of animals.
That's a lovely answer. What do you have a favorite time of the day to draw?
Nighttime.
Any reason why?
It's just quiet and everyone's gone to sleep, and
Maybe the magical animals will come.
I think so. I really like the nighttime because it's quiet, I mean, I like that everywhere. The idea is everyone is asleep, and then I'm the only one awake.
Drawing.
I'm sure lots of people are awake, but
Great. What's your motto in life?
just take one step at a time and don't be a nuisance to anyone.
Cool. Any art tip for a newbie illustrator or newbie illustration enthusiasts like myself?
Take your sketchbook wherever you go.
Okay. I don't have a sketchbook. I need to get one. I will get one immediately. What's your comfort food?
Momo.
Momos. Yeah.
Especially in this weather. Can you imagine?
Oh, the whole momo. Yeah, it's so cold. And I can...
Darjeeling style momo. That's to be specific.
Okay. Darjeeling momo?
Yeah, Yako momo is like, this is the, when I came to Kathmandu, that's the first time I had that masala momo. Because whole, like, until then my existence was Darjeeling momo is the only momo.
Wow.
It doesn't have masala, okay?
I've ate some Darjeeling momo and it's
there are some really nice places.
Yeah, it's really nice. Do you have a favorite artist from Nepal?
This is a very tricky question, Okay, artist.
Do you wanna pause?
I don't
skip?
know any Purana traditional artist at all. I really like my friend's art.
Yeah.
Bandana was a good friend of mine. I really like her style. She's an illustrator. She also writes picture books. If you're listening, Bandana, you can thank me later.
Oh, how
But I
lovely.
really like her style, though.
That's so lovely. Favorite artist beyond Nepal?
Shaun Tan. He's inspired me quite a lot. He's an Australian artist, but his father, moved from Malaysia, and he's written this beautiful book called The Arrival. it's completely wordless. Okay? This graphic novel, huge, Etotulo, completely wordless. You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, I've heard the name of the artist.
It's about his dad immigrating to Australia, and then everything is alien, and then that is shown visually. Okay? All the text is weird, all the animals look different, the cups are different. It's a very nice way of doing. I mean, it puts ideas in your head as well.
Wow. Okay, I'll check that out. Are you working on anything lately?
No, I'm taking a break. I hope to take a break early. I've just wrapped up so many projects. I'm completely burnt out, I feel now. But next year, I would love to get into animation. Is something what I'm actively looking forward to.
Great. So looking forward to your animation in the next...
2D animation.
2D animation sometime in the future. Anything you'd like to say at the end?
Like a positive message.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you say to the world? That's a big responsibility, eh? Just take it easy, If things get difficult, take a few deep breaths, which I'm also trying to do sometimes. You get very anxious.
Yeah.
And just know that everything will work out. And if it doesn't, it's not the end.